right. So first of all, I want to thank you, Larry, for updating the presentation. I basically got the structure, but you looked at it as, oh yeah, I know how to fill this thing out, and you
We
filled it
love
out pretty
Canva. We
quickly.
use Canva all the time. So I love that you did it in there. It's great.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that link was going to work, but technology is a bit more advanced. We also have a Alicia out here. All
Another
right,
friend.
awesome. You can see the presentation there. All right. So this slide here, Larry has been getting in shape, so he's dropped some weight, and he got a
Yeah.
nice suit there. His and a very good tan.
No,
But
neither.
so so this conversation is really wrapped around Larry and solopreneurship. And he said, Troy, you're a solopreneur and you're doing A, B, and C. And I haven't even heard that term before. And I don't think the word was invented before 2019. And now it's a huge awakening. And so I'm pretty excited because we always had the idea of having a small business and going to the $1 million goal. And a lot of times we forget that we're not keeping that $1 million. So many times, if you're making $1 million or you hit that goal, you end up only paying yourself a salary. And solopreneurship is it's a little bit different. And I'm not going to talk too much about it. And this is a picture uh, of not Larry. And for this presentation, we have a couple of bullet points we're going to touch on. And if we don't, please raise your hand and let us know that we need to address a couple of your questions. So we are about 10 seconds behind because we're running Restream. Now, the first section is really going to be talking about Larry Kaul, how our relationship is, how we met each other, what he's doing, some of his programs, and why he's so passionate about it. The other thing is to really understand what solopreneurship is and how's it different than being just a regular entrepreneur. Now, and then how can solopreneurship support your lifestyle and without sacrificing your happiness? So during the pandemic times, we kind of figure out we kind of want to be more interconnected with individuals. We want to find a level of happiness within our lives. A lot of people are going the solopreneur route, but they really don't know how to get there. They want to find that level of happiness. And the fourth bullet point is talking about money. What's normal? What should our targets be? And this may be an open-ended conversation because there's different opinions on that. But I definitely have my own opinions on what I would feel comfortable on, depending on, it all depends on your situation. And then there's step-by-step kind of structural setup on solopreneurship and what the benefits are. And then again, Larry would talk about some of the key factors. Now, this Larry guy, I wrote this information, he rewrote it. But Larry, can you tell me a little bit about what you do and how you do it, and just a little bit of information about our relationship and that sort of thing?
Yeah. First, thanks, Troy, for the opportunity. Like you said, we've known each other for a few years, and I've always felt like since I met you, we're fellow travelers in the sense that we're trying to innovate, we're trying to do something different, and we've made the extra effort to
Mhm.
form communities and add value back into the marketplace. And I've always felt like as we were first getting to know each other and kind of coming in and out of each other's communities, which is kind of how that whole thing started with us, that we had this philosophy of abundance and kind of giving to the marketplace. So it wasn't just about getting an immediate sale; it was about building a platform for the future. So that's kind of how I see you as one of those people, and I
I
try to surround
appreciate that.
myself with
Thank you.
people like
Thank you.
that.
Yeah. I think having a great foundation allows you to kind of move towards success. And success does not always mean money. It just means a lot of times peace of mind, and stability.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. I'd like to explain kind of what a solopreneur is and what it isn't first. I think that's a good starting point. I think the word's really misunderstood because the literal translation is an entrepreneur is working on their own. And
Mhm.
I don't think it's right at all. And how do I know this? I've been around a thousand plus people over the last couple of years who fit into this category. I've run an event. We've had over 100 guest speakers. We've had 1,000+ people come through. I've had hundreds of conversations with people, and I have an interview approach when I'm talking to people, and I pull all that information into a database so I can get a sense of kind of who are you and what are you doing? What do you want? What's blocking you from getting there? What kinds of experiences are you having? So I'm taking a lot of this from all that information. So it's not just my own opinion. Now I understand everybody's going to have a point of view on it, but I'm
Mhm.
basing this on what people have told me, basically. So the difference fundamentally between, so if you think about an entrepreneur first, there's two types of entrepreneurs to me. There's professional entrepreneurs and amateur entrepreneurs. I'm not making any judgments on any of these categories. So professional entrepreneur is a career path. So the
Mhm.
idea is, I got my education in being an entrepreneur. Now I've got my supporting network, which could be an incubator, it could be a group. I'm in some kind of a structured program or system that I end up in. So there's this whole ecosystem economy around
Mhm.
supporting entrepreneurs. Well, why am I doing this then? It's usually because somebody's got some vision that they think will work for them in the business world and provide a big financial exit at some point. So how do
Mhm.
you do that? Well, you got to prove out the concept, you build your minimal viable product, you build
Mhm.
an executive team, you get rounds of funding at different levels. At some point, typically on the entrepreneur side, you're giving up control of the company to investors, and the product is outside of you. It's external to who you are.
Mhm.
That requires a totally different approach. So that's the professional entrepreneur. The amateur entrepreneur, I think, are closer to solopreneurs and freelancers.
Mhm.
Freelancers very different from solopreneur too. And the amateur entrepreneurs, I think, are really looking for money. They're trying to figure out what can I put together that will provide me enough income to make a killing. Um, and that mentality is also well served in the marketplace. So you've got a lot of people with the, how to build $100 grand a year or a month in passive income people. You've got
Mhm.
the, let me do this in real estate. Let me do these funnels. Let me do all this kind of stuff. So teaching amateur entrepreneurs how to do that. Small business owner is someone who's building a structure. So the idea is, I've got this business. It could be anything though. Like I could have dry cleaners, I could have a restaurant, maybe I have a construction firm, maybe I have some kind of management consultancy. So it usually comes out of I'm good at something, I know how to do something. Well,
Mhm.
how do you scale that? You learn how to build a culture, you learn how to hire teams, you learn how to manage them, you learn how to work on the business, not in the business. There's like all that kind of stuff. And then finally, a freelancer. And a freelancer is someone who's trading time for dollars primarily. So it's someone who's looking for projects. So I have a skill, I'm renting out my time in the marketplace. Maybe I build a small team for overflow of people who help me because, I don't have time for this particular project. And the
Mhm.
challenges are too much work or not enough work. And for a lot of freelancers, it's the problem is too much work and they often don't know how to get the kind of work they want. So they're
Yeah.
driven by the projects and the clients. So, okay, so that's a huge setup for the
Yeah, that's a
punchline.
lot of information, man. We only had 6 bullets here.
So let's go to the solopreneur. So the idea of the solopreneur is I've got a purpose, I've got a passion inside me, I got something I want to bring out into the world. It's a part of me. The product is me in a sense. So I can't separate myself from the product. This is the thing I'm going to do.
Hmm.
Like, it's not just the skills I have. It's like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
don't,
that's the major difference that I see between a regular entrepreneur and that flavor of solopreneur. They are, they're the brand more than likely. whatever they do is what they're known for, and that way they could produce a livelihood, being that thing.
Yeah. And then let's get into why does it matter?
Hmm.
It matters because the system and infrastructure you build, and you have to have a system and an infrastructure, and most solopreneurs are not good at that.
Hmm.
It's got to work for you as a solopreneur, as a very different kind of system and infrastructure than an entrepreneur would need. And part of it is because of what you said. A lot of it is because of what you said, because of the personal nature of it.
Hmm.
Some of it's about scalability, because I think solopreneurs can scale, because
Yeah.
today you can scale product delivery. So
Well, I
that's
think a
a way to
lot of
scale
that is
yourself.
based on past success for typical entrepreneurs, and they're taking a step and making it more lean. For example, solopreneurs typically don't have employees. They have relationships, they have contractors, and they have deep relationships, because usually a lot of these solopreneurs have a lot of experience. And usually, when they have a lot of experience, they have a very good network. And so they have the connections to get these parts done without the burden of having employees. So when you're talking about scaling, yeah, there is definite scaling. One thing that solopreneurs, I think they have to be careful about, is trading hours for dollars.
Yep.
Reducing the amount of hours they can work, and then having their teams that they're working with, their SOPs, in order to um, fulfill a lot of these tasks um, that are better served with other individuals. And that way, that's one way to scale. But typically, and this will most solopreneurs, and correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, um, they're targeting a certain dollar amount for what they consider to be their happiness. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah. So let's back up a little bit on that too, because this
Mhm.
idea of support your lifestyle without sacrificing your happiness is important too. Most entrepreneurs that I meet will grind away. They'll work the 70, 80 hours a week.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know if it's an age difference sometimes. I can't really explain. I'm not an expert in entrepreneurs. I haven't talked to 800 entrepreneurs like I have with solopreneurs,
Mhm.
although I do know a lot about it. And I'm on my fourth company. So I've been pretty involved in the entrepreneurial world too. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs like it will grind away. They'll make those sacrifices. The solopreneurs I find are kind of pushing past 40 and
Mhm.
up,
Mhm.
40, 50, 60, whatever. And there's this idea of happiness that's important. And we call them the happiness keys. And there's 5 of them.
Mhm.
And you got to write them down, and you got to bullet point them so you really understand them. So the 5 keys are income. That is, how much money do I have to make to support the lifestyle that
Mhm.
I need? Second is security. So if I need to chase clients to support that lifestyle,
Mhm.
and I have a feast or famine cycle because I have to
Mhm.
do all the work, I have no kind of sales or marketing machine that runs for me, and I have
Mhm.
no leverage about how I deliver the services. You don't get a lot of security even when you have phenomenal months.
Yeah, you take it. That's more of a shotgun approach.
It is. And
Mhm.
security is built by oversubscribing your offering. So you've built enough of a presence in the market where you can raise your prices, deliver at some kind of a systematic scale, but at high quality still. And there's different ways to do that depending on what you want. But with oversubscription, that's security. So
Mhm.
you're not chasing
Mhm.
your next client. They're kind of around you already because you've built the free event, you've built the free workshop, you've given into the community, you've gotten known, built your personal brand, which allows you to do that. And then the third one is purpose. I
Mhm.
have not yet met somebody in the solopreneur category that can't, even if they don't know how to do it well or clear on it yet, can
Mhm.
articulate some kind of a purpose, passion, meaning, purpose, vision, mission,
Yeah,
and
why
it's
are you
really
doing this?
personal.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And they tell me, and you know what it usually is? It's like, I had this problem and I fixed it, and that's now my company. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to figure out how to make enough money to cover my lifestyle, and I'm trying to feel secure with it. because lack of security has a negative impact on family, which is
Oh yeah.
another happiness key of
Negative factor in your whole life,
big
not
time. Yeah,
just
big time.
not just your family. It's you. I always think that what affects you should be fixed first. If you say, "Oh, take care of this, this, and this," and it's like when you're on an airplane and they instruct you, well, if an emergency happens, please put the mask on your face first, and then do the kids later. And so if they don't have security, they not able to pay the rent or their bills, they're not going to be very effective. So I would think as a solopreneur, and just to take a step back, people who do Uber lifts and all this other stuff, God bless them. There may not be in that same, a lot of them may not be in that same age category or that same mindset. They're just trying to make a little extra, like a little extra nut to pay bills and things like that. But what you're talking about is being sustainable, which is a different animal.
So that's the difference between a solopreneur and a freelancer. So a
I-
freelancer is renting out their skills and expertise, capabilities, body, time, whatever. So a Uber driver is kind of like a freelancer, just in
That's true.
the physical world. But if you're a solopreneur, so you've got to build the business from the inside out. You've got to know the energies you channel. I won't get into the details of that, but I could go on forever. But there's an energy you channel that has an impact in the world, solves a certain type of pain, gives a result for a certain desire that people have. A market forms around a shared private desire. You got to nail that down. You got to know your zone, so you know the kind of work you want to be doing. You got to know your saboteurs and the obstacles you work through, because it's all personal. So I don't think entrepreneurs and freelancers and small business owners do this kind of stuff, but the personal development work needed to be a successful solopreneur is pretty considerable. And when you do that successfully, you overcome the problem of product differentiation. Because if you go out there and you say, I'm a different kind of coach, or I'm a different kind of consultant, you're not really. I mean, what you're delivering is other people can deliver it, most likely. But what's different is when you build it from the inside out, people feel it. They feel like this is special. No one else is doing that. It's very different.
Yeah, I think that 80%, and correct me, this is what I think. I believe the majority of the decisions made to work with you or to be with you, and to do business with you on a partnership or client level, all that stuff is really if there's no like and trust. So they get to know you and they get comfortable with you, and they understand that your knowledge base is there, and the product comes last. The actual product comes last. They just say, he's doing well in this thing. I need help in this area, and I believe that he'll do the help. And so they may hire someone like you or me over other people, and it's solely based on them actually believing that you can do it. They like you, and I think that's a huge part of building your personal brand.
There's so many pieces of that to kind of unpack. Like, I think one of the biggest parts of it is that people don't know how to buy. They don't know how to solve problems. So we call this a thinking process. So the idea is know, like, and trust is like table stakes. But at the end of the day, you're buying transformation of some sort at a price you can afford to do something you're actually able to do without too much time, energy, and sacrifice. That's what you really want
Once you get
as a
the system
buyer.
moving and optimized, it's true. So the beginning parts of that is a lot of work. I think the momentum, once you get a good flow and get a momentum, life becomes a lot easier, and getting to that momentum stage is, I think, critical for a lot of people, because there's a level of inconsistency, and we all struggle with it. All of us, we struggle with it. I'm supposed to post 5 times a week. I'm supposed to spend 30 minutes, in my day to create that. Sometimes it takes an hour or whatever, and sometimes I don't feel like doing it.
Yep.
Do you think I like getting up 5 a.m.? No.
Yeah.
My old business, when I had my gaming business, I get up at 9. but I worked through the night. And now as a single parent, I had to force myself to shift. Whether I wanted to do it or I didn't want to do it, I just do it, you know? And of course I'll slip up, but having that mentality of like, look, I'm sacrificing now so I can benefit later. That concept has to be inserted into your soul, you know? And that's where when you end up getting, oh, got another client here. Oh, this client's doing well. I 10x this person's business. Those lines of good things that are happening goes a long way, because again, in any business, solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever, I think a majority, or at least a big portion of your business, is based on other people's thoughts of you, recommendations, you know? So if you toot your own horn, that's fine. You got to do your own marketing and stuff, but it can't compete with other people tooting your horn. Other people say, yeah, he did this for me. He can do this for you. They trust them. Now that trust is transferred to you. And that is a powerful thing. And that's only done once your systems are set in place, your mindset is correct, and you got a little bit of momentum, you know? And I think the best, what do you call that point when you can go straight up? The best point in your solopreneurship where you can excel quite quickly is when you're doing enough business, you have enough customers satisfied, and you have enough bills paid. That last part, think about that. Your bills are paid, and I don't have to worry about the bills. Now I can excel. I know what works, and I'll just make little tweaks along the way to kind of better that offer. One of the best things that I've done was simplify my life. I don't have 10 products.
Right.
I will not develop your website, you know, unless you're a current customer. I got 2 products. That's it. High-end starting product. And I think that simplification and getting those systems in place was a big deal.
Yeah, it's right on. And so we talked about building the business from the inside out, but then you build the business with the market. You don't decide what you're going to sell. You decide what your purpose is, your vision, your mission, what gives you meaning, what kind of work you want to do. You decide kind of who you are, what kind of impact you make, where your energy channels the best, and for what market, because you want to build a market. Starting with a market is a group of people who share the same desire. And then I'd go one step further, which is I would find a market shares the same desire, people you want to hang out with. And then the next step after you figure that out is people who are weak where you're strong. And then you can segment the market, you know, but that's not a market. Segments is a different thing. So when you figure out that market that you want to be in, you've built the business from the inside out, you're moving now. Well, now the market's going to tell you what they'll buy. And the way you do it, I'll give somebody a tip here about how to do it. So I call them connection conversations. I've done a lot of these, and you get somebody on the phone, and the way you set it up is basically, hey, where are you focused? Well, like, what are you working on? And we take this and we zap it into a database. So we can see all this information. So I've taken notes on a second monitor, right? So it's like, hey, what are you focused on? They tell me, and I'm writing it down in their language. And I'm like, why? What are you trying to do? Writing it down, that's called the destination. And then it's like, well, how are you finding that? And that's called the obstacle. So what you want to get down is like, what is it?
How are you finding that?
How are you finding that working?
Working.
Like,
Okay.
what is working, you know, right? Because you don't want to say to people, well, what keeps you up at night? They're not going to tell you.
Yeah, that's kind of that's obtuse question.
I'm not going to tell you what keeps you up. I don't even know you.
Yeah, it's not your business.
But you can a good journalist, it's journalistic energy, basically.
Yeah.
You're channeling a good journalist, you're a good interviewer. Right.
Well, that's a very systematic way of doing it. It's similar to what I do. I'm a little simpler. And when I schedule a 15-minute meeting, right, all I want to know is get to know them, and they'll tell me their immediate pain. Like, so what do you got going on? And it's kind of the same question. And my only goal, I have only one goal: to help that individual lessen the pain. That's it. Not their business, not their um, their contractors or this other group, just their immediate pain, whatever it is, right? And if I can solve it, I'll just tell them how to fix it. Because when you're doing business with someone, they don't only have one pain; they have one immediate pain. They have
Mhm.
all these pains behind it, and if they fix that one thing, you've upped the trust factor. And it's like, oh, and they look to the left and right, and they say, wow, I'm gonna get Troy to fix these other 20 things because they don't want to do it. It's a lot of work, it was a bit of work getting this first thing done. So
Mhm.
if I helped them, there's a possibility of getting a client. Or you just put out good energy in the universe because maybe they didn't have the money to begin with, or they're just not ready for you, or for whatever reason. And the third is actually really important as well. They you have a card you can pull, and that card is, can you send me a recommendation? Does this help you? Yes, it did help you. Can you send me a recommendation to run an introduction to someone that I could help? And you can actually pull that card. They'll send you a recommendation of someone, and then getting recommended, your possibility of closing a deal goes much higher. And you have to think along those lines, like, okay, how can I help people, but at the same time help myself? And the answer to that is just being a good person.
Yeah, it
People,
helps.
yeah, I mean, someone says, Troy, you're helping a lot of people, and even if I was a jerk, financially and in business sense, it would make sense for me to help someone. And a lot of people don't get that. And so that's one thing I think is very similar to what you're saying. I like what you're saying because it's very systematic.
Well, there's a few pieces of it. Like, one piece is just connecting with the person, building a relationship.
Mhm.
So that's important. The second piece is creating a sales opportunity if it exists, and they usually kind of tell you, because they'll say, "Oh, I'm really
Yeah.
struggling with this." Like, people lean into that, right? The third thing is market intel. So you want to be an expert in the beliefs, the desires, the interests, the habits, the experiences, the purchasing patterns, the motivators, all of that stuff of your market, not just in what
Mhm.
you do, but it's the broader picture of the marketplace. And as you do that, you build the product and the offer. Product and offer are two separate things. So the product is what you're delivering. The offer is how you're organizing and packaging it in such a way that people can't compare it to anybody else's offer. So you're bundling these things together, so it seems really, really different. I only have one offer. Like you said, simplification is so important. And in packaging that offer and figuring out how to deliver it, the people told me what they needed. They also told me what they
Mhm.
wanted. So it was kind of both. So you got to deal with want
Are,
and
are you
need.
constantly like tweaking it though? Because
Well,
the
what we're
first
doing
group
is
may need something different than the second group, or as the group is growing, or as it develops.
I think that I look at the market as my particular desire group, based on what I archetype that I channel, the energy that I channel,
Hmm.
desires mastery and are willing
Hmm.
to take risks. So I
Hmm.
would call them they lead into that high achievement area where they're kind of really frustrated when they're not successful. And it's
Hmm.
hard for them to live in that. And the reason is that the pain and the fear they're dealing with is a feeling of being stuck or powerless. Like, they can't tolerate being in that stuck space.
That's
Some
a
people
very
will tolerate
human
it for
thing. That's a
years.
very human thing, though.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not for everybody. There's certain people where, they really are willing to get
Mhm.
out of it. Some people aren't willing to get out of it. They want somebody to save them. I'm talking about people who
Oh, okay.
they
So you're
want a
talking about the
trajectory.
the, the top slice of go-getters. For
It's
example, if I
it's
look
it's
at the
not
market.
necessarily the top slice of go-getters. It's people who have some driving motivation, even if they only want 5 clients. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily want a 7-figure, 8-figure company. Sometimes they just want to make 10 grand a month and they're happy. But
Yeah.
it's that they're frustrated and they're willing to attain mastery. They want to learn, they want to do it. And
Mhm.
here's the key thing: is the outcome they want is achievement. So they want to achieve, they want to get something, they want to get a result. Those kinds of people, to me, is the shared desire in the marketplace. Professional solopreneurs, 40 and up, that are kind of at a point where it's like, I want to make the income. I'm struggling with income. And I know 80% of them are struggling with income because we've figured
Oh,
that out
easy.
with these
Yeah,
surveys,
easy.
at least 80.
Yeah.
But
It's probably a
I'm
little
not going
higher.
to work 80 hours a week prospecting to solve the income problem. So it's like,
Yeah.
all right. So we learned we need a support system. We had to develop, we call it the Solopreneur support system. We had to develop a support system to provide the comprehensive solution, and then groups that includes a lot of personal development, kind of how do you work stuff, thinking processes about how not to make reactive decisions, understand root causes, plan actions, daily action planning where you know what to do every day,
So you're not
pre-plan
just
path forward.
reactionary. Yeah,
Right.
you're
So
proactionary.
I
Proaction.
didn't know this until
Mhm.
I did all those conversations because the market told me and
Mhm.
I watched. So I didn't take market research and say, oh, I'm going to buy what they tell me. I'm not going to make what they told me to make.
Yeah.
I figured out who are they? What's their desire? What's blocking them as a group?
Mhm.
What are they trying to achieve? And I only want to serve those people because I don't want to be
Yeah.
making all these different companies and products.
Yeah, you don't
One
want all this
system.
ancillary stuff that's going to distract you. So you're
Right.
creating a product or process or whatever it is that you want to call it, that achieves their goals. That's it. You're here
Five
to,
happiness keys. Five happiness keys. So
Mhm.
part of the process is, what are your five happiness keys?
Mhm.
Well, they're yours, not mine. It doesn't matter what they are. What matters is every single thing you do every day. I time block myself every 30 minutes and it gives me
Mhm.
freedom. And if I look
Mhm.
at what I'm doing, I'm like, this isn't going to get me to that place. Why am I doing it then?
Mhm.
Or it'll get me there, but I should be looking at it in 6 months, not today. I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, yeah. So do you still do the time blocks?
Always. And I miss them. I blow them off sometimes, but I know what I'm
Yeah, I
doing with
have this
that.
little thing here I got that will adjust the time for my time blocks, and um I like it. I would never buy anything off Instagram again though. It takes like a month and a half. I'm like, yes. I'm like, rush order. And like a month, they just take your money and but the item's nice. It just I was a bit naive because I like all these gadgets and stuff on Instagram. Like, oh, I need that thing, and it takes forever to get.
It's
I'm
so
sure you.
important. Like the
Yeah.
first thing that I do, we have open office hours. So my partner and I are available 4 hours a day to
Mhm.
people in our system where we're on a Zoom call. People can come in, say, I'm stuck with this. Can you help me with that,
Mhm.
whatever. And one of the things that we do every time, sorry, I said, where are you in the steps? Because we have these steps. And what's your
Yeah.
action plan for today?
Do you
What do
find that the certain type of people work better? Because I have two type of clients. I have the super high level clients, and then I have the detailed step by step clients. And I find out that the high level clients do really well because they structure things around them, so they don't need to do certain things, other than the stuff that's really personalized, which I think is great. But I also find that they're the hardest ones to deal with, just because they're like, oh, you tell them more than two things, they're like, oh, it's too much. I can't do that, get frustrated or whatever, you know.
Yeah, so we developed, so this is exactly what I learned from piloting stuff, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, this did not work with this person at all."
Yeah.
And then Dave and my partner and I kind of were like, "Why didn't that work?" So the idea of one thing at a time became really important.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing. Well, how do you get to one thing? You figure out what the most impactful obstacle is stopping somebody from getting those happiness keys
Right.
right now, and that becomes the action. And then you look at the action and you say, if I take that action, what are the consequences of taking that action?
Yeah.
And then you look ahead and you're like, all right, what do I do today?
Yeah.
How does it start to remove
So,
that very
so
first
again, to repeat
obstacle?
what you're saying, you take the biggest obstacle or the most first logical obstacle to get to where you're going first, and you take that out. And once that pain is eased, they can go ahead and take on others one at a time. So they take a systematic approach based on what the most important thing that's blocking them or will help them get to their success level.
That's
Oh,
right.
Robert Tackett, He's been all over my feeds, man. He uses the Alex Echo Dot. Don't know what that is, but sounds cool.
Oh,
And
it's the Alexa drop-in thing where you got them in multiple rooms. I think, tell me if this is right, Robert, but we have one with my daughter and we'll say drop in on Mila, and then it puts it's like an intercom in a way, but you could
oh,
talk to it and say set a timer for 15 minutes or whatever.
oh, that's the problem. I'm an Apple guy, so I'm like on the other side of the evil, of the stuff in there.
I put a little module together on time blocking. I got about 6 videos in it from time blocking experts. And what I learned is that it's not about the time blocking. It's about knowing the thing you're doing has high impact, and
Yeah.
knowing that the thing you're doing will get you what you want. And then you'll actually do it. You're much more likely to do it. But people are often time blocking without knowing what their thing they're doing is really going to work or not.
Yeah, they
And
don't
then
know the
they go off
value of
their
what they're
time block.
doing or why. So they're just
Mm.
checking things off their list, in other
Right.
words, versus
Yeah.
getting stuff done. So it's like running on a treadmill. You're not
I
really
don't
getting
even
anything
have a
anywhere.
to-do list anymore.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
single
I
thing goes
do work
on the
off the calendar,
calendar.
and probably getting off subject with this, but I did want to ask about money. So that's more of a tangible conversation,
Mhm,
and I know for me, what makes me happy is 20 grand a month, right?
mhm.
The reason being is my bills are pretty low. I'm a single father. I don't really splurge, but I want to make sure bills are taken care of, and I want to make sure a chunk of money can be reinvested somewhere else where I can get a higher rate of return. Because that's how rich people stay rich. They put their money and they get their 50, 60, 100% return a year, and they make their money work, for them. And so if I had $5,000 or 10,000, whatever it was a month, you could put that away without fear of not able to pay your bills. And so 20,000 is the magic number for me. But what is the typical number for you, or maybe a typical range for the type of solopreneurs that you work with?
Well, for me personally, I'm taking passive income from my other company. So I have somebody running my other company, and I take passive monthly income from that. I don't have to work in that company anymore because I set it up in a way where I can have somebody run it for me. I take passive income from that, and then
But that's more of an entrepreneur thing, not a solopreneur,
yeah.
right?
So
Hmm.
I'm a hybrid. So
Hmm.
I'm an entrepreneur in the sense that I know how to build, I know how to scale. I know how to build, I know how to get to that 7 figures and up. And I know how to do that. And I know how to build a team, virtual team. I was doing that before people, I was doing that, started doing that 8 years ago, building virtual team. So I get how to do that, but I'm really a solopreneur at heart in the sense
Hmm.
of the product is something I'm passionate about. That other company didn't have that. This
Hmm.
one does.
Hmm.
I'm born to do this thing. I've been
Yeah, your
practicing for this
passion.
my
Yeah, you're
entire
you're
life.
passionate. It makes you happy. It's
It makes
part
me
of your
happy.
it's part of your happiness.
It's
Yeah,
part
it's
of
part.
me.
Hmm.
But I would not be happy with this if this didn't scale at, an 80% profit margin without a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
team.
yeah.
So, Troy, the way I did it, I have a partner who's another solopreneur. We're
Hmm.
partners, and we know how to build a remote support teams of
Hmm.
people who aren't working for us. And
Hmm.
that's how I'm going to do it.
Hmm.
You know,
That's the way to
so
do most of these things. You still have to do some of the face works, I call. You have to do personalization and personal engagement. But if you don't have to do the rest of the business, you're that's 80% of you're only doing 10, 15, 20% of the work, and 80% is farmed out, or it could be
well,
10, 90, but you get what I'm saying.
yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. That's kind of
Yeah, let's
important.
talk about
So,
process.
yeah, so
Let me share my screen real
yeah, go
quick
ahead.
and get to that. And hitting presentation mode. So you had these 5 steps I put together, and you made edits to that,
Yeah.
and it's talking about how can a person be successful as a solopreneur. And of course, there's more steps and more details for this, but 5 was kind of an easy number to kind of give major subject matter. You want to take over this right here, Larry?
Sure. So step one, build your business from the inside out, we talked about, because we need the business to reflect our purpose and passion and to give us meaning. So we're actually happy working in it. So I wasn't happy working in my other business. I took a huge pay cut to do this. And I used some passive income from that business to do this. And I used some money from investments that I'd made when I was making a ton of money to be able to do this. So I had to start with, what do I want to do every day? And who do I want to do it with? Were really critical questions, building your business from the inside out. And that
Hey,
doesn't
Larry,
mean
I'm gonna stop you and ask you
yeah,
a question.
sure.
So, your predicament, I would say, is not the norm,
Right.
right? So, say I'm starting out. I'm 50 years old, and I was doing well a couple years ago. I had a midlife crisis, whatever that means, and I'm resetting my life, right?
Yep.
And so you have to build a business from inside and out. But my first, in that respect, my first stress factor would be, how do I build it from the inside out? But yet the first thing is pay my bills.
That's 80% of the people that I'm seeing. And the way you do it is you do it quickly. So you build from the inside out. So when you show up in the marketplace, you sound different. So that's really important. So you got to do that and get that
I'm
whole
sorry, can you
story
explain
together.
that? Sound different. I think the audience wants to understand that
Well, sound
concept.
sound different in the sense of you're not just talking about what you do. So you talk about what you stand for, what you believe, what you
There
care
you go.
about, your storylines. So people feel like there's something unique with this person, because that leads to income. The second step is, the way you make money quickly is with a one-to-one service package that hits a pain point or something that the market really needs. And the way you deliver it is networking and connecting in social media and in virtual rooms, and understanding what to do when you get people on the phone calls, and having really good offers put together. And you want to do that at a rudimentary level just to get it done so you can go. The first that we call it anchoring systems. So
Mhm.
anchoring systems is basically how to work, how to connect, and how to close, how to sell.
Right. So your bulletproof offer, or that's that simplification that we talked about earlier. So when you're creating this offer that will convert a lot easier, developing a product or service that's really easy to understand and not complicated. I think a lot of that stuff is key, because those are easier to sell. You can get into the details afterwards. And I know a lot of people sell stuff that they don't even have yet. They'll sell a concept, an idea, and they'll get clients and then build a program around it. But those individuals are probably experts in that arena. So when they start dealing with their first set of clients, they can tailor that around their bulletproof offer.
Yeah, the offer thing's so interesting. I studied this extensively the last like 6 months, because my problem is complexity. So I've got a pretty big vision, and it was so complicated, it was hard for us to present.
Hmm.
And we saw a lot of failures in that. And then
Yeah.
I
Do you feel like maybe it
discovered,
was over engineered,
no, it's
or?
not. It wasn't over engineered.
Mm,
It wasn't clear, specific enough. So I
okay.
think we got to specificity now, around this idea of support your lifestyle without sacrificing your happiness. What if you could do what you love every day and still make enough revenue to support your lifestyle? And there's a 5-step um, signature process to do that. Build your business from the inside out, be an expert in your market, bulletproof offer, consistent revenue stream, and then eventually scale,
Right.
and oversubscribe. So now I got the message down, boom, boom, boom. But it took a long time to get to that. What nailed that down for me was the building the offer system. So what I noticed was, you package basically what you deliver. So it's not the product, It's the way you present and organize the product, and you build it
Mhm.
based on the steps of the journey the customer needs to go through to get the transformative result that they want and that you can deliver. And when you organize it that way, all of a sudden it makes sense to people, because my mistake was I wanted them to enter my world.
Yeah. Well,
And when I realized,
that's
let
actually a
me
very
enter their
human thing to
world,
do
it worked
because
better.
yeah, you know your world. You know, I found that before I did the rebrand, I was doing all right. I wasn't working with the clients that I thought would be successful. You know, and I actually over engineered a lot of these systems. A lot of these clients didn't need for me didn't need very complex systems because they had a capacity of how they were able to answer stuff. So I get them leads all day long, but unless you have a system that slows things down and you're not consistent on your time blocks, or you're not training your VAs properly to move that needle a bit, it becomes a bit difficult, you know. And so I actually simplified my model, and I don't add more complexity unless there's a need to do it. You know, that's just what I found out. And also, out of this 100% of the people that are on LinkedIn, I live in the LinkedIn world, of course. There's different platforms and all that stuff, but within the LinkedIn world, there's 800 million people that are members. Half of them are active daily, but
Mm,
how many people are you going to really work with?
right.
And so out of that 100%, probably like 0.02% of the people are even qualified to work with me, because most people don't have the willpower to go outside of their box, you know. So a lot of people are employee type of individuals, which is fine. I know some employees that make a lot of money, you know, but if they go outside of that box, that requires a different set of beliefs and thinking, thought processes, and to do actions you're not typically used to do, you know. And so systems that I have work really well, but they only work well if that person is qualified. I'm sure it's the same thing with you.
You nailed it. And we started here, I think. So the idea of when you build your company from the inside out, you figure out a desire in the market that you can impact with an innate energy you're born with. There's a
Mm,
process to get to that that you naturally channel when you're your authentic self. And then you figure out how to do that with confidence. And then when you start doing that, you're attracting the right people.
mhm.
And for us, we say this in our marketing system. So we have a funnel before our workshop that is going live pretty soon. We made some changes to it, and there's a line in here: "Are you willing to get out of your own head and be open to some radical change?" We're telling people up front, you got to get on your out. You got to get out of your own head,
Mhm.
and you've got to be willing to change. Now, there's people who are like, "I'm not."
Yeah.
Well, I can't help them.
Yeah.
It won't work.
Yeah. You have to stand by your principles, and if someone is not working, I did a post the other day, talked about so you want to fire your client. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I saw that one.
And
Commented on that because I fired 2 clients, not with this company, but the other company.
yeah, and it's not like
Yeah.
it's not being mean, but and the client could be a great person. They
That was
may not
a
be your person.
$100,000 hit. That was a $100,000 hit,
Yeah,
long
that's a
term.
bit painful. I don't
It
know.
was pretty
That's-
it was really painful, and it was, 5% of the income of the company or
yeah.
7% of the income or something. And, I asked the group, I said, "What would happen if this guy's gone?" And they're like, "We will do so much better, and we'll sign another client like right away because we can't deal with him anymore." I
Yeah.
was like, "Is it really that bad?"
Yeah.
Because, when
Yeah.
you're running the company, you don't know what's going on all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Because
asked,
it
and they're
becomes its
like,
own
"Can you fire
entity.
him?" So I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Austin, if you're listening, if you could go ahead and put Larry's link for his profile here, it'd be great. And then you can put mine afterwards, just in case people want to get in contact with Larry specifically. So we're running kind of short on time. So well, I'm not skipping to step 3, but going to step 3, have a plentiful and consistent revenue stream. That sounds so easy, Larry.
It's hard.
I know it's hard.
Well,
That's just
we wrote it.
the way you
The
stated
way
it is
we
like
wrote it is,
facts.
you may be saying, sure, easier said than done, and that's true. It is not easy to do this, but it's possible to do this, and there's a systematic way to do it. And it starts with calm down, lower the temperature, don't be reactive. That's like step one. And then it's like, who are you? How do you make that unique? How do you create an offer out of that? How do you understand what offer is actually going to work in your particular marketplace? And then you got to get 15, 20, 25 meetings a week. I've done it.
Mhm.
Doing it for a year and a half. You
Mhm.
know, I'm slowing that down a little bit, looking more for strategic partners, but I was doing a lot of those meetings. And when you do
Yeah.
those meetings, if you do them the right way and you have the right offer, you're going to close some business, but you got to time block it. You got to be on it.
Well, also,
You know?
one thing, and I struggle with sometimes, is that you want to help a lot of people, but you're limited on time. So you have to have some kind of vetting process. So you're having more meetings that are moving in a positive direction versus spinning your wheels. I think that's a big issue that a lot of people are having, and part of the secret is to network up. You know,
Network
and
up. Yeah.
yeah, definitely network up, and what that means is be part of these groups that have bigger players. Because if someone's making a lot of money, spending money is a how do you say, it's a matter of perspective. You know, it's different than saying, oh, this entrepreneur or solopreneur needs my help, but they're absolutely broke, and it's hard for you to, you can help them and give them guidance, and then show them where the courses are and things like that, but you don't want to invest a lot of time on that, because then you're taking away profit away from you. So there has to be a balance, is how can I give, to the audience, and how do I give to individuals, but also how do I get those clients that actually pay, and they actually pay well, and they take that same advice, and they're able to be successful in what they do. Excuse me.
Yeah. And I think you've got to understand really granularly who they are and what does that look like and how do they speak. So you kind of know it when you see it. And then I have another kind of system around the sort of, we call it reality based thinking. There's kind of 5 steps to it. I have a system for everything, right? You do too, I think.
Yeah, too many
And
systems.
well, you need them though, right? It's just
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
my
But
problem was I
when you
talked about
verbalize them all at once, it's
I
like a
talked
lot of
about the system.
information.
Yeah, I talked about the systems too much instead of what they do. And this piece of it around suspending judgment is really important, because there's been a lot of times where I'm like, oh my God, this person doesn't have any money. But it wasn't that. It was that they hadn't seen value yet. And the minute they saw value, they were ready and could afford it because they did have money, but I didn't realize.
I
Um,
think you and I are talking about two different people, though.
in
There,
what
there,
sense?
there's a lot. The majority of the people that want to do something have very little, say, marketing or learning money available to scale their business, and so they're not at the stage where they could potentially, regardless if they believe you or not. You're talking about the people that they have a budget, but they don't have 2 budgets or 3 budgets. They got one
Well,
budget
what I'm saying,
for the
Troy,
right
though,
person.
is you don't know often who those people are. That's so there is the way I filter it is we do free events.
Mm-hmm.
So people have an opportunity to opt in based on knowing what the cost is. You know, that there's some cost to doing it, but I'll give you plenty of stuff for free if you want to keep coming and you can't pay or don't want to pay. That's
Right,
fine.
right. That's
You
we're
know,
definitely in agreement with that. I mean, and you're talking about systems. There are always systems in place. You need an email system. Oh, by the way, if a lot of people need help with their email, and they forget that 40% of a lot of the emails don't even make it to the main inbox and stuff.
right.
And I'm actually lucky enough to work with Ed, and he does a lot of email systems. I'll stand if you can. put Ed's information there as well. If people are having problems building email systems, he's a great person to know as well. And he actually supports this show with the email list there. So moving on to step 4, and of course, sorry to push you, Larry. This is a great conversation, and I don't mean to rush anything, but I know that a lot of people will be dropping off at the top of the hour. But step 4, you're talking about limiting your hats to the ones only that you can wear. That totally makes sense to me. Would you want to explain that to the audience, though?
So the idea is kind of counterintuitive in a way, and the way I would think about it is, what's your zone? What's your zone? So everybody's got a zone. There's 12 of them, or let's say 12 of them, 10 of them, and the primary is the thing you really would do all the time if you had a choice. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I just want to learn about stuff. For other people, it's I want to build things. For others, it's I want to help people.
Oh,
Um,
I was thinking along the lines of in your business,
well,
you
I'm
have.
getting there. I'm getting there.
Oh, okay,
So when
sorry.
you know that, you know what are the hats you want to do.
Mm,
The second thing is you have to know the obstacles you need to overcome and what you have to do to overcome those obstacles. And those are often the things you don't want to do. Now, there's certain things only you can do. So we have a support system, but we can't get on the phone and help people close business. We can give them
yeah.
systems to close business. We can help them understand how to close business. We can debrief calls,
Hmm.
but they're the ones. So you got to build that mindset and understand the skill of closing business. You also have to be the one that does those calls with people where you're connecting and networking and stuff. Like, I know there's people you can hire to network for you, but that's unlikely with the kind of market I'm serving, at least that's going to make sense.
Yeah, it's a huge dollar. If you hire a remote sales team, they typically a fractional sales team, they typically cost about 10K a month.
My other
And
company is a fractional sales team and we cost 10K a month.
oh,
So
okay, there you go.
that's exactly right.
I'm totally right. You know,
You're right. Yeah,
and
you're
not
you're
a lot of people
you're right
have an
on.
extra 10 grand in their pocket, and so they have to learn how to
Yeah.
sell. And do you feel like the sales meetings work better if they're on with pairs of people? For example, if you're supporting them in this endeavor, do you sit with the meetings with them, or
I I think it would be a good idea. It wouldn't be scalable for me.
yeah?
It's not something. Well, I think it's a good idea because there's certain core business skills. You have to know how to work. You have to know how to build resiliency so you're not depressed all the time and you can
Hmm.
keep moving. Those are core business skills. You've
Yep.
got to understand how to communicate in a way where people can feel compelled and understand what you do. And there's a
Hmm.
personal branding component around that. You're the only one. You're the only one who can be
Yeah.
an expert in your market. You can't outsource that to a marketing person or a branding person. You're the one who's got to be the expert in your market. That's just a core skill. You have to know how to connect with people and you have to know how to close business. Now, the underlying infrastructure and support system to do that is where we play. But
Yeah.
we're kind of
You make
saying,
it you make those tasks easier, or you take other tasks away
yeah,
where they can just concentrate on those particular items. For example, outsourcing content. I just saw a post today on it, and I noticed that I create my own content for myself most of the time, and I get 3 to 4 times more engagement versus if I hired out. However, there's the other side of that coin where you can hire out, but the ones that are really good and they're really close to you and they're your shadow and they understand your business, they cost a lot more. So, do I want to
mm,
go ahead and create my own content, or do I want to pay 6 grand a month, for someone else to produce my content? And even when they produce it, they're not hitting the mark. They may be 80% of the way there or 60% of the way there, and so there are trade-offs of money for time. People said, "Oh, content, oh, that's easy. That's $1,000 a month or whatever."
tough.
But what do you really get for that? You know, so there's a quality there's a quality separation there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm running this whole enterprise with a partner with one VA, and that's fine. So I don't particularly feel a need to outsource a lot of things, and I'm able to do what I love to do every day because I set up the infrastructure to allow me to do that. But I
Right.
also have to do a lot of things I don't want to do and I don't like doing. But I've set up a thinking process where I know if I do those things, they'll pay for me. They'll they'll
Mm.
they'll give me the benefit I want, which makes the pain of doing them. Like for example, like
So you're programming your own brain, basically.
you're programming your own brain. I think that's
Yeah.
the key to life, frankly, is that's the underlying skill
Well,
that,
you're doing it consciously
yeah, doing
that
it
way. It's a
consciously.
big difference. We're always
Yeah,
programming our own brain, but most of the time we're doing it unconsciously. We're not really doing it purposefully,
correct.
and
And then
that's
you're programming negative thinking then and negative
yeah. You
behaviors
do it
and
on yeah, if you do
yeah.
things on purpose, you're gonna head in
Mhm.
direction. Even if you're in a bad spot, you'll see the silver lining. It'll be a lesson learned, or a bad thing can be even an opportunity, and it's really how you programmed your brain to look at stuff. And if you
I started a weekly inspiration meeting every Wednesday. I've been doing it for almost a year now, and that's what we talk about.
I didn't know that.
Well, you gotta pay. You gotta come into the whole thing.
Oh.
Now, but no, I was doing it for free for a while, and now we've kind of moved it into our actual, offering. And the reason
Mm,
I did it is because that's the derailment.
okay.
So the reason people derail is because they're operating unconsciously in an automated thought, feeling, feedback loop in their head, which
Mhm.
creates bad habits and distractions of doing things that don't get anywhere, that
I'll
don't
say
lead to
this one
revenue,
thing before we move
you
to
know?
step 5. As humans, and we're built to protect ourselves, right? And your brain wants to protect you. So it doesn't like things that are unknown or things that are new, right? And you have to train your brain out of that in order to become successful. If your brain just wants to, your body wants to keep you safe, and
Right.
that safety prevents you from being successful a lot of times. We don't have wild cats chasing us all the time. Saber-tooth tigers. Hunting us down and things like that. So we have we have a built-in kind of safety feature that really affects us just being successful in life. Now, step 5 is create scarcity and start choosing your clients. I like that, creating scarcity. Could you talk a little bit about that, Larry?
I think the ultimate game for me, and I think for a lot of other solopreneurs, is to have enough of a presence where you have as many clients as you kind of can handle or want.
Want?
And and that client load delivers enough income to be where you want to be.
Mhm.
So the way we've done it is we've decided to create a more of a premium community, people where we can open ourselves up our time 4 hours a day, basically, to
Yeah.
people in it and deliver high value, that way with to less people. And you can scale and create scarcity if you're selling $100 a month kind of product or $1,000 a month, well, a $1,000 a year product or whatever, if you have a massive social media presence.
Yeah. Okay.
So if, and I'm not going to get into the names, but be careful with the trap of the automated checkout of, hey, if I create my course, I'm going to sell it. And then, well, you're not going to sell enough of these courses
Yeah.
to really fund your nut.
Yeah.
If
Do you have like 3 million followers?
exactly
Yeah, it's
engaged followers.
not many. I know a few people that do, but they still can't sell but certain things depending on their audience. So they sold like courses for LinkedIn for a different community. It just won't convert. So you have to be careful about creating a product for the community, but having it at a value high enough that where you can sustain an income. You know.
These things happen sequentially. And one of the
Mhm.
things that's important is what we call it delay gratification and
Mhm.
accepting completeness. These are fundamental life principles. Delay gratification means I cannot help anybody get to scarcity and start choosing their clients in 3 weeks. we can help people in 3 weeks build the business from the inside out and
Mm-hmm.
get into a different thinking mindset, feel excited and confident, give them the whole support system, and have them feeling like they're on the right track. And that
Mm-hmm.
can happen like overnight,
Yeah.
but you got to go through the next step, be an expert in your market. You don't do that in 3 weeks either. You got to get out there, and that leads to the bulletproof offer. You can do that pretty quickly, but you got to understand your market to make it bulletproof. It doesn't happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
Plentiful and consistent revenue stream, that doesn't happen overnight either. Now you can get lucky. So I see a lot of people who say, if you come through my program, you're going to close business in 3 weeks. And I'm like, well, sure. I mean, that's possible, because if someone's
Oh
doing
yeah, I
horrible
had
things,
CPAs that come and in 3 weeks they have 15 clients,
well,
but not all of them do that.
if you create plentiful and consistent revenue stream, that's different from closing a client. So if you have clients where you can
Mm-hmm.
create a plentiful and consistent revenue stream, it's because they came to you with something. They
Mm-hmm.
already had something organized and a good infrastructure of some sort. Most
So what
people
you're
don't.
saying is they became aware of the solution to their problem that they already had.
Probably. I mean, I don't know what the individual situation is. I think the point to me is expectations and understanding the sequence of things is really important to avoid spinning in circles
Mm-hmm.
and running from spending money from one resource to another based on
Oh
how
gosh,
good
yeah,
they are at marketing.
yeah.
I mean, that's the problem.
So I
that
put this
happens.
useless slide together.
Oh, the
Thought we were going to talk
entrepreneurial
about
world.
it, but probably won't. As you know, a solopreneur is an entrepreneur, but actually, there's more solopreneurs, and I think this includes the freelance category as well. And Austin, if you can just add the link to that, so they can figure out a little bit more about the entrepreneur world. I won't spend too much time on that, but what I do want to offer or present to everyone is sign up for Larry's free workshop. It sounds like it's a great stepping stone if you want to be that solopreneur and you want to kind of open up these areas in order to be successful. What I would say, just my personal opinion, is that if you're not the person that's willing to kind of do these things, then maybe you shouldn't go. So we always want to work with people that are going to help me help you get where you need to
Well,
go.
let me put it this way. Feel free to come and hang out if it makes you feel part of a community, or that's fine. But obviously, going further and taking a step after that would not make any sense. But I look at this as an open forum. We give people exposure to what we do. We add a ton of value every week. We take a different topic. This week is around creating a market. It's about understanding the desire principle for market creation, and how to do it, and do things inside your market as opposed to building things in a factory or a workshop and then trying to go sell them to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who wants to get info about that is welcome to come. But like
Yeah.
you said, you're probably not a good candidate for
Larry, I am
the
much more
program.
blunt than you are, so you have definitely smoother edges than I do.
Well, I'm serious though. I don't mind hanging out with people who don't want to change. I don't want to
That
spend
sounds that
one-on-one
sounds
time. I
awful.
don't want to spend one-on-one time with
I want
somebody.
people to be successful,
Yeah.
and I want people to show up. Matter of fact, I have my booking link here. Austin, if anyone who wants to chat with me just on just any kind of LinkedIn process, I'm open for that. Just grab 15 minutes. But what I want to do, Larry, is thank you. This information is super valuable, and I think Austin has left the link to my post that has these slides in it as well. And if you want to grab those slides, feel free. And if you have a hard time reaching Larry, reach out to me, and I'll do a group message with him. So I'm gonna jump on his free workshop too, and him and I have been talking about a couple little things. And I'll tell you right now, Larry is very serious about what he's doing, and he's been successful a number of times already. So definitely wouldn't hurt at all to kind of join his workshop to check it out. I'm always into growth, so I think I know a lot, but Larry knows different things than I know. And that's the great thing about partnering. You're working with someone that's not exactly like you. They
Yeah.
have some of the same core principles, ideas, and concepts, but they have a knowledge base that may be slightly different in an area that you need to learn. And so I thank you very much, Larry, for joining us. I actually have to leave because I have to pick up my daughter at her bus stop, or I get in trouble. So I gotta go. You know, so it's 10 after the hour. Is there any last words of wisdom, Larry, before I drop off?
I think you just kind of said it all. It's like you got to go pick up your daughter. Well, do you want to work in a company where
Yeah.
you can't? You want to work in a company where you can't?
Yes, that's absolutely
No,
right.
no,
Yeah.
no. We got to make this work. We don't have a choice. I'm unemployable now. Like this has got to
Yeah,
work,
no one wants to hire
right?
me. I remember years
Nobody
ago,
wants
I
to
tried to
hire
get a
you.
job as a creative director, and they just looked at me like, "Yeah, you need to start your own company." They wouldn't. I just told me you need to start your
Yeah.
own company. I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do
So
it."
if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're not getting what you want out of it, you got to, because you want to be able to pick up your kid at the bus stop,
Yeah, we
not be
do.
told
Yeah.
by your boss, so you can't do that.
Oh yeah, that's awful. Yeah. Yeah, and I probably gotten fired off a couple of my jobs because I'm bluntly honest. Once you want to have a job where you can be honest to your clients and customers, and not fake the funk, and that's just, and I'm programmed. It's like I have a hard time saying something that's not true. It's just
Yeah, me
in my
too.
DNA. Uh,
Mhm.
awesome. Well, I'll let everyone go. Thank you for joining. And there's going to be a replay as well. And please connect with Larry. And if you want to chat with me, my booking link is on my profile. And if you send a connection request to Larry, let him know that you're on the show, or he might not connect. He doesn't connect with everyone because he's reducing on the spam and increasing on the actual connections, if you know what I mean. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks
great
again,
day.
Troy. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye.